Welcome back to Book Club, guys.
We've been gone for like 2 weeks. Welcome everybody to this hellish finale.
Oh, we were dreading this enough that we were like, we don't want to do this. So we kept putting it off and putting it off. But here we are. You're getting book 3.
It's not going to be as detailed as the last two videos. I just want to let y'all know that right now, because I reread the book and upon rereading realized I cared even less about the book than I did my first pass. So we're gonna just bum rush this however it works out and hope for the best. We have a whole script. I will be skimming it and then bullshitting the last 15 chapters that I elected to not script at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The last 15 chapters, you're getting an image and our off the top of our mind what we remember about it. And if any of the details that we give you make you want to read this book, I recommend you don't. It's not worth it. It's
Save
genuinely
yourselves.
the worst experience I've ever been through, and definitely don't read through it a second time. If you think you enjoyed it the first time, don't ever reread it because you
Yeah,
notice
that's
all of the weird shit that just doesn't add up.
yeah, there were plot point or not plot points. It was more like notable happenings that I didn't get my first two times reading this. The second time I didn't reread it completely, but I still picked up new stuff that I was like, why was this mentioned? Because the author never doubles back about it later. It just is for the one sentence and then it's gone.
But this is the last one. You're not going to get the second half of the series from us because we can't force ourselves into that, and we want to review actually good books.
And we have so many in our list, but this set is not one of them. So
This is just what inspired us to give reviews because we had a lot to yap about.
that we did.
So we'll start with the blurb on the back of the book. Also, here's the complaint. This is where she changes the name of the city. Because why wouldn't she? Read it to me, Chesh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was Serpentis City, but now it's Serpentine City.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Serpentine City. The Mafia rule, and we're about to be indoctrinated. Which, by the way, that line already just sounds really sad. I kind of wish it rhymed. It's
Yeah.
really bleh. Cobra's the heir to the throne, and he's been given an ultimatum. Form a pact, or else. Now, we're fighting for our lives and each other. Will Jax, Xerxes, Asher, and Cobra fall apart under the pressure? Will Sadie be strong enough to handle what they want? Will their tension crumble into hatred or build into love? Between training and fighting for our lives, it's about to go down like never before. We may have survived the Fey realm, but the real test has just begun.
Let's just get this out here. At no point is anything in the series actually love. We're just gonna put that out there. This is not a healthy depiction of what love should be.
Yeah, I I didn't like any of the characters by the like I only like them in relation to each other, but they're all terrible.
Like the most normal relationship that Sadie encounters is Xerxes.
And he's a little freak too.
Yeah, and he's a little freaky too, but it is what it is. Let's give you guys a refresher on our characters that we'll see in this book, because of course, we've got to do that. We've got our base characters. We've got Sadie. And from what we know at the beginning of this book, because we're given a list of characters from Jasmin Mass herself, Sadie is probably 21 years old, maybe 22 or older. She was adopted and has always been unsure of her birthday. She's got white hair, red eyes, gold skin. She's 5'4", scrawny built, is half alpha saber-toothed tiger shifter and half blood fae. Has a voice inside her head called the Numb that makes her an emotionless killing machine. She's covered in scars but disguises them by wearing the enchanted ring. She's a warrior, if warriors didn't have to do cardio.
How lame.
Right? Arabella is 24 years old. She's disguising as Erin in this book. She is the daughter of the Fae Queen. She has bright blue hair, blue eyes, pale skin. She's 5'10". Um, she's unsure of what type of Fae she is. She ripped out her mother's heart and ate it, and as the result, is now the rightful reigning queen of the Fae realm. She refuses to do the job, so she disguised as a boy and fled. You want to tell us about Pookie Bear, Jax?
I can. So Jax is 120 years old. Big age gap here. He has black braids covered in long golden chains, may have also been referred to as trinkets, and also been referred to as jewels over the course of this book. We'll never know. Gray eyes, black skin, 6'5". He has nose, nipple, and other piercings.
Piercings.
He's an alpha bear shifter, a warrior, and in a relationship with Cobra, and is the only guy in this book that is not a straight up douche, but has his worst moments.
I'm gonna argue
At
that
least
that's
in book
not
two.
true.
Wait, this wasn't a part that you added? This was included in the book? Like,
Yes.
only guy that is not a douche?
Yeah, she wrote this. This is all copy and paste from her.
Oh, wow.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You were wrong. You wrote this entire book and you said that Jax is okay. Whatever.
I mean,
Jasmin
if you were
Mass,
to make,
catch
like, a
hands.
scale of douchery, like, he'd be at the end, like, the back of it, right? But he wouldn't be
He-
0. He would
he-
be up
yeah.
there.
I'm gonna argue that Xerxes is going to be lower on the douche scale than Jax is because of how the middle of this book plays out. Also because of the fucking sex clinic scene in the last book.
Yeah, that's fair.
Big pause. Jasmin Mass, catch hands. Anyway.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, you can read Jax and then we'll switch.
I already read Jax.
Or
It's
you can
over.
do Cobra and we'll switch again.
Okay.
We'll do
Okay,
2 and 2.
so Cobra is also 100 over 100, but he's only 106. So I don't know if that's still young for an alpha, but we'll never know. He has black hair, emerald eyes, pale skin covered in jewels. 6'5". He's an alpha, but doesn't shift into a snake as the others shift into their animal forms. He just has his single form, where he is a human but has shadow snakes all over himself, and they're also embedded in his gems. He's a warrior, is in a relationship with Jax, and has many problems. And in parentheses, she wrote "not well," which is probably the biggest understatement of the entire book.
I wish instead of not well, she would have just typed unwell.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that would have worked. He's definitely unwell. We can agree on that one.
Yeah. And then we have Asher. He's 22 years old, so Sadie's age. He's got gold hair, amber eyes, golden skin, has horns on his head, because of course he does. He's 6'5", well, like every other man in this universe. He's an alpha ram shifter. He's covered in flame and rose tattoos. He's a professional assassin and warrior. He has trouble with women, but he's been working on it.
Yeah, trouble.
Sure.
Yeah.
Trouble.
Misogyny, maybe? Sure.
Yeah. And then we have Xerxes, who is 60 years old, has long blonde hair, which I'm confused with the difference between gold on Asher and blonde on Xerxes is.
I'm gonna assume that blonde might be like a dirtier blonde than gold.
Maybe, or maybe she literally means that they have gold threads for hair. Who
I
knows?
On our little image, I did give them hair that is different. Like, I
Yeah.
would argue Asher's hair in these pictures is gold and Xerxes is blonde.
I don't know. It's just
maybe that's
it's
the image we're supposed to go for.
it's weird. It's a weird change to do.
I also just want to make it known that going back on Asher, we can confirm that Sadie doesn't have normal skin tones because Jasmin specifically refers to his skin as golden, but hers is gold. So I like to think she's
Huh.
made out of metal.
She is tink tink.
So nobody wants her. She's just walking
Yeah.
metal.
She literally goes tink tink as she walks. That's why she has scars. They're not actually scars, they're just scuff marks. Just gotta
Oh my
get the
God, they have
buffer
to
out.
Buffer out? Oh my gosh. That's evil.
Anyway, Xerxes has long blonde hair, purple eyes, olive skin. He always carries 2 blades. He's 6'5". He's an omega that shifts into a kitten. He's he's a former professional assassin of the now dead Fae Queen, and he's struggling with identity issues.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's him.
that's a mouthful to say. Why did she write it like that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess he is a former professional assassin, but he doesn't take on work in this book.
let's be honest, he ran away from his problems to encounter more problems. To go back
Yeah.
to the old problems.
I'd argue this is the same of every character in this book. Like, we're
Yeah,
just circling problems that get blown up farther and farther out of proportion.
this is true. And then we have the fucking collection of sisters that got yeeted into the Fey realm last book.
Yep.
You want to talk about
Yep.
Lucinda and Jess, and I'll take Jala and Jinx?
I mean, I could just do all of them.
All right.
I'll go for it. I'll do
All
all
right.
of them. So, of the four sisters, not all of them related to Jax, but of the four sisters that we have Lucinda. So, she's Sadie's sister, 16 years old, white hair, red eyes, also has gold skin. So, they're both made out of metal. 5'3", only 1 inch shorter than her, has a curvier build than her sister, and has not been tested. Powers are unknown. She has like 2 years left, I think, before she ends up having to be tested, but we don't cover that in this book, unfortunately. Womp womp. We have, for Jax's sisters, we have, starting from the oldest, at least that we're with for the remainder of this book, we have Jess. She's 20 years old, Jax's adopted sister. She has black and, I think, electric green hair.
Yeah.
Author fails to note that here, but I want it to be known that it's electric green. Green eyes, copper skin. So she's also
she's also a Tin Man.
yeah. 5'8", so taller than all the other girls. Has not been
Except for
tested. Powers
Aaron.
unknown. Oh, true. Jax is reluctant to test her because the realms can be a cruel place once you've been categorized. But like, I don't think they have a choice. I think they all have to be tested, unless it's mentioned somewhere else that they're not. I feel like if things didn't have to be tested, we could have skipped so much of the problems in this book. Sadie could have just gone her whole life without getting tested. And then we have Jala. She's 14 years old, also Jax's sister. She has pink eyes, pink hair, and black skin. 5'7". Oh wow, they're all tall.
Yeah.
Has not been tested. Powers unknown. And then lastly, we have the most annoying character out of the entire book, Jinx. She's 12 years old, also Jax's sister. Black hair, black eyes, super pale skin. 5 foot even. Hasn't gotten tested yet. Smarter than everyone else, and she knows it. Also terrifying. I don't know if she's terrifying. I think she's just an annoyance.
I think that she's a little unnerving. So I guess if you're scared by kids, sure, she's terrifying. I do, however, think that a lot of the way that Jinx is written, from the way that I've done research on the author, I think the author just doesn't like kids.
Yeah, she's like the only real kid that we have interactions with, and she just comes across as snooty in a not fun way.
Which is how people that don't like kids, as a whole, when their entire personality is dink, like double income, no kids, when they make that their personality, they tend to be like, I hate kids. And she writes Jinx like she hates kids.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
I only say that because my ex hated kids, and that's how he would talk about kids, is that they were annoying and that the things that they do were terrifying, and it's weird.
Yeah, her writing makes me hate kids.
Yeah.
It rubs off. At least in this book, I can distinguish fiction from reality, but she does make me hate kids in this book.
Yeah. But Jinx is unnerving. I still don't believe that Jinx is actually only 12 years old. But
I don't either.
It is what it is. And then we gotta go into the fucking story. Just speedrun style.
So we're just gonna skip this introduction. There's a short story introduction at the beginning of the book. I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna summarize it. I don't think it's relevant. It's kind of relevant, but I don't think you would ever need to read it to get any more context or information than you could just by reading the book.
I do think there's one important thing in the prologue for us to know, because it's not mentioned in the other book.
No, I was talking about the intro, not the prologue.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was saying, there's only really one important thing in the prologue too.
Well, I'll let you take over that then.
Okay.
I forgot.
So, yeah, no, the prologue's the part that I did. So in the prologue, we get, I think, our first POV from Arabella, and I think it was also the only POV from Arabella that we got this entire book. But we see Arabella reliving what she had just done killing her mom. She's having a mental breakdown. She's severely depressed and super itchy.
Uncomfy itchy.
Yeah, like her skin is crawling itchy. It's nighttime when the crew make it into the Beast Realm. They're driving through Serpentine. They're describing how it looks kind of like you would imagine what Neo Tokyo would look like, but mixed with London somehow. Arabella is still murderous and wants to kill people. She's constantly hearing her mom's voice in her head, so she's like completely gone crazy. And she has a flashback of killing her mom, in which she says, "My clean, neatly trimmed fingernails had elongated into razor-sharp claws. A sheen of ice had formed around them and hardened into serrated edges."
Oh, I see what you mean by important. Because I
Yeah,
don't think this was mentioned during the last book when, like,
it was
Sadie
not.
just saw her kill her mom, and
Yeah,
that was it.
she just saw Arabella shove her fist through her mom's chest. Um, this is the only part of this that we get any information about how Arabella killed her mom.
Hmm.
And my personal note to the prologue is it would have been nice to have seen things from Arabella's point of view in the last book, and I feel like it would have helped add to her trio of books that come after this, to have seen her character build up in the other 3 books.
Yeah, I
Because
would have
she's
made me like her
there.
more.
I would have liked 1 or 2 chapters per book from Arabella. Before she gets addicted to drugs.
So true. Yeah, she gets addicted to drugs in here, guys. That's her coping mechanism.
Yeah. So,
We are not bullshitting.
trigger warning for drug abuse, because honestly, that's what it is. Uh,
Yep.
There's sex that we have to talk about. There's more sex that we have to talk about. Unhealthy relationship
Violence.
boundaries. There's tons of violence. There's steroid usage.
Yeah.
Just...
Yeah, that's so crazy out of context.
But that's the prologue and some warnings that we got to get to.
Awesome. Okay, I will try my best to summarize these chapters because I wrote a lot for each summary.
I
But we'll
can.
see how well I can skim.
I can do chapters 1 through 5.
Okay, go
Okay.
for it.
So chapters 1 through 5 are basically Sadie and the crew meet the Dawn and join the Mafia. Cobra bullies the children, and we learn about Cobra's daddy issues because, of course, he has daddy issues. Um, Sadie is super protective of Arabella while she's passed out when they first get into the city. Like, the guys try to offer to help her carry Arabella in, and Sadie's like trying to fight them over it, even though Sadie's struggling to do it. Um, Sadie makes some stupid comments that she thinks the mafia dude is fake because she's seen bootleg movies, because of course she had to bring the movies up again.
Hmm.
They meet the Don, Cobra's dad. They get told that they must join the mafia, or they risk being shot if they shift. If they get shot, they die, because of course there's magical bullets that will kill them on the spot.
Yeah, we gotta find a way to make it dangerous, even though those weren't introduced prior.
Yeah. Jinx is still annoying, but she's also very observant, and she calls the Dawn out for bluffing, about killing the group of them, because the Dawn, basically infers that the crew know too much about Cobra and Cobra's shifting abilities, and because they are close to him, that they'll likely rat him out or whatever. The only way to prevent that is for them to join the Mafia. Um, so Jax, Cobra, Asher, Sadie, and Xerxes initiate for the Mafia, and told they are 1/3 of the way through getting their gang tattoos, after they go through the first initiation period. They end chapter 5 with the crew getting in the back of a supercar, all in the same row, basically in a pile, after this initiation, and Sadie falls asleep on Xerxes' chest with him kissing her cheek, which was a wild detail to add.
A little peck on the cheek.
Well, yeah, he's like,
Cersei's being caring after
yeah.
all that they went through.
So I think it's supposed to mirror him being a kitten, right? And kittens lick wounds. So I think he's just like instinctively trying to clean her wound and make her better. But they're in human form, so it's weird.
Yeah. But he's
Um,
trying, I gotta give him bonus points for trying. He's one of the few men in this book that try
um,
consistently.
so again, my personal note for this that's the most important is one, Sadie is slightly less annoying for the time being. It was a quick build up to getting straight into the mafia shit. And Cersei's is still being the most kind to Sadie, and Jax forgets that anybody but his sisters exist at this point.
Hmm.
Like, all that matters is his sisters. Fuck Sadie, fuck Cobra, fuck anybody else going through anything. He's just in protective big brother mode, which would be fine if it hadn't been for the fact that book one built Jax up to be this protector of all women, not just his sisters. Like him wanting to do good by women because of his sisters.
Yeah, that's fair. But at least like everybody else can hold their own. In theory, right? Sadie never gets to hold her own at all because all the men always want to be in her business, and she ends up getting saved more often than not. But theoretically, she should be able to hold her own in comparison to all the other girls in this book.
Theoretically.
Do get kidnapped. So I guess I'll give him a little bit of credit. But then we go to chapters 6 through 10. So the first chapter, chapter 6, is basically from Jack's point of view, and he is recounting a tale where prior to his enlistment in the military, or at least defending the stronghold that we were in for book one, he's tasked with going out and finding a diseased elk and putting it down in the middle of the winter in the tundra. Um, and long story short, this story is basically showcasing him recalling going through tough times, him learning what it means to be a warrior in the most brutal of conditions. He went through starvation, hypothermia, couldn't shift into his bear form because he couldn't even muster the energy to keep it going. And he's basically comparing that scene in his life to now, where the gang had went through their first torture session. I don't know if that was chapter 5 or if that was the beginning of chapter 6, but they had went through their first initiation stage where they were like chained up to the ceiling and they were given like a serum that forces them to have dreams about their worst fears, and if they could come out alive on the other end of it, then they would have passed their test. And after this chapter, it's them waking up from their trauma dreams. All of them like collapse on the floor. They're bruised and beaten and bloody because I think the guy who's um, initiating, I guess, the first stage is like talking to them and beating them and testing their limits on if they'll spill any secrets while they're under the drug. But then the group ends up leaving and going back to Xerxes' place because he lives in a mansion because he's a rich boy with rich parents. That's what
And
happens when you're in Jamaica.
servants.
Yes, and servants. And Sadie does not like that. They get to the estate, and Sadie sees all the servants and is reminded of her time of servitude to Dick, and tries to subtly, not so subtly, convince them that they need to leave and that she can free them. And they're all very confused. They're like, "What are you talking about? Like, we work for him." And she gets really bitter at Xerxes for some reason. Like, we haven't been together for the last book. She thinks that Xerxes is actually just like a selfish princely character who just keeps and enslaves people. But really, they get paid. She just doesn't know it yet.
Which is
Um,
funny.
it is funny. It's just the way she go about it, where she
She's like,
interrogates him at the
I
door.
can free you. Blink
Exactly.
twice if you need pulled out. Do you want me to kill him for you?
And Walter, the servant, he's just this really old man. He's really confused.
He's just looking
And
at
she
her like,
asks Xerxes about she jokingly asks like, "Are you like the princely type?" And he makes a joke back, insinuating that he is. And the audience can tell it's a joke, but Sadie can't. So she gets really irritated. She's like, "Oh, so he is a piece of crap. I see." And we're like, "No, Sadie, no, he's not. He's joking."
Sadie cannot read the room.
No.
Part
No, she
30.
And then the group go inside and they meet up with Arabella and the siblings. They've all chosen rooms for themselves, and Jinx apparently got a hold of a ferret, which was gifted to her by the Dawn, who visited them while they were gone for their first initiation test, which I think is crazy that they even let him in the house. I guess he's at a point in power where they can't deny him, but it's just the audacity for him to show up.
I
Just like,
think
"Here,
what
guys."
it was the Dawn accompanied them back to the house. Like, he took the girls to Xerxes' house while the others were in initiation.
Oh, that
So
might be
that they
true.
were technically safe, that they were under protection. Because
That might be true. I still don't like it though.
it gives red flag vibes. But it is what it is.
And then one of the other chapters that we get that's notable is Asher's POV. And so that one, he's just like lamenting that he failed to protect Sadie. She's covered in bruises from their first initiation session. He vows to protect her, and then comes to the conclusion that, I'm a piece of crap to women, and I got it from my dad, who's also a piece of crap to women. And he wants to take after Jax because he sees Jax, with all his sisters and him getting along with Sadie the most because Sadie feels the most comfortable with him. And his first real step in trying to make a difference, which I think was a very good chapter, was Asher apologizing to Aaron for like all that he'd done to the group when he betrayed them in the Shifter realm, and vows that he'll protect Arabella, from harm just like he would Sadie, because he believes that Arabella is, the closest friend that Sadie has, and if he can be friends with her friend, then he can be friends and a love interest to her. And Arabella accepts his apology, and they start like snarking at each other, and it's just like a really cute relationship building moment for those two. Until the group realizes what they're doing, and then jokes about it. That they're just like, oh, look at you two being buddy buddy, and I'm just like, guys, we had a moment. Come on.
Also, we have to mention Cobra is afraid of the ferret because ferrets eat snakes.
Yes, I thought that was funny.
It's
He's
an
like, get that
important
thing
note.
away from me. What is that? It's the first time he's ever really been afraid of anything.
He's like, oh,
Not Sadie related.
yeah. He's afraid of women, but mostly Sadie and that ferret.
So funny.
We also have to mention that Arabella demands to share a room with Sadie, even though there's like tens of rooms that she could have chose from.
Yeah, she does. She does comment that the reason why is because she's gone through trauma and she wants Sadie to be with her because she needs someone to help her through her trauma. And then I think they end up bickering at each other, and I think this is when Arabella takes out the pipe for the first time, like smoking, and divulges to Sadie that like she's been smoking. And Sadie's like, "What the hell?" But Arabella doesn't care, and then
Yeah.
gives her the pipe, and then they both start smoking because they both don't know how to process anything.
Also, for some reason, some point in these chapters, Xerxes is like, Jinx can protect herself.
Yeah, that's a lie.
She's a child. Sorry, that is a child.
Maybe with her wits, but I guarantee if anyone tried to throw a punch at her, I don't think she'd be able to defend herself.
Oh God, the fucking term brownie points being used in this book is crazy too.
Yeah, I'm like, that shouldn't exist. That's not a real phrase. Not for this book, at least.
You know, a lot of things don't make sense, but
And then Xerxes and Sadie get a little like sexual tension at the end of the book. I think they're at a dining hall together and they start talking, and then they're flirting for a little bit, and then she remembers that he keeps servants and then gets angry, but then they flirt a little bit some more. So author can't maintain any sense of tone in a chapter. So then we'll skip to chapters. Well, not skip, but we'll move on to chapters 11 through 15. So at the end of chapter 10, Xerxes had invited Sadie to come with him to his room. Sadie had like no concept of what was happening outside of maybe she's gonna get laid. But they end up coming to his room, and it's, his big Omega nest. It's plush, filled with little knickknacks. It's a library, actually, and it has like, I won't say LED windows, but they're enchanted windows that can change the scenery around them, which is actually really cool, by the way.
So, the way that I envisioned this from the way that she wrote it, even the second time that I read through this, was that the room itself can change. So, like, the snow
room?
that's, yeah, like, the room itself. So, like, around the nest, at least, like, it's snowing in the room. Like, there's an enchantment in the room that changes the weather inside the room. On command.
Because I have enchanted windows, but I'll look at it. Well, I'll look at it and not tell the viewers.
Comment down below what you think it is.
Oh my god.
Maybe we'll comment back.
Maybe. No, we will.
We will.
We like engagement.
We do. Talk to us in the comments.
So then Sadie and Xerxes end up going to take a bath together, and it's mostly Xerxes' idea because they haven't taken a bath since they've gotten back from this initiation. stage 1, mind you. So they're covered in bruises and dirt and blood and just
And
generally
goop.
disgusting.
And
Yeah, that too.
rain.
Just generally nasty, you know? So offers to give her a bath. He's cleaning her and is, comforting her, but then we see a little bit of his possessive side come out. He ends up choking her and like
He was
giving
doing
her commands and orders and stuff.
he was doing so good in this section of the book until his brain went mine, and I went, you know, stop.
Yeah, because Sadie's into it for the first half. She's like, all right, cool. I love dominating men, and Xerxes is also hot. And he's also a kitten. Like, 3 wins for me. But he takes it a little too far. He starts asking her to call, like, or say that she's his. She's not a super big fan of that. He gets angry at one point because her, like, saying no is basically her saying that he can't, like, he's an Omega
It's
and
a
he
rejection.
can't. Yeah. And he gets angry and punches the wall, like, right next to her face, and she gets a little freaked out. And he gets a little freaked out, and he, like, has what amounts to, like, PTSD flashbacks. And instead of comforting him, Sadie just leaves. She's like, all right, bye. Thanks for the bath. See you later. And
Though,
dips.
to be fair, if a man punched next to my head and he was a foot and a half taller than me, yeah, I think I'm gonna flee too. That's a you
That's
problem.
fair. I'm just like, Sadie, you can defend yourself. You're actually a saber-tooth tiger. Well, I
Well,
mean, I guess
she
she
can't
can't
shift.
shift because it'd be illegal, but, like, you got it, girl. But she didn't get it. She left. Good for her, though. He was left there in the bath by himself.
Which gave him
Um,
time to reflect on his bad decisions.
but not in a good way. I don't remember him reflecting in a good way about it. I'm gonna skip over chapter 12. It's not relevant. So we're gonna just go to chapter 13. Um, Sadie and
Oh, no, 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 no. No, it is
Xerxes.
relevant because we find out that
Is it
Jinx never sleeps.
okay? It's like relevant to be weird, but it's not like story relevant. Yeah, she never sleeps. She's a little freak. She's
uh,
not normal. She's not human or
Also, the
shifter or
ferret's
anything.
really fucking weird. We start to see weird behavior from the ferret
Yeah, he took somebody's like panties.
and was running around with them on his head.
Very bizarre.
Um,
But then
yeah.
Sadie and Xerxes, I think, meet up at the dinner table after the shower and everything.
Oh.
Xerxes apologizes to Sadie for his behavior. She's a little skeptical about it. And then Arabella's also there, and then, like, berates him for his lack of respect towards her, and then they all get into an argument. And I guess all the other alphas are here too, because Jax and Cobra don't bother diffusing any kind of situation. Uh, and then the Dawn makes a guest appearance at dinner in chapter 13,
Uh-oh.
and he is basically giving them a little brief rundown of the next trial that they have to do, the second trial. And everybody's like really irritated that he's there. They're all preparing to fight. And then the Dawn
Drops
tells
the
them,
bomb.
or at least tells the alphas, that, hey, you guys need to form a pact. Every alpha in this city has a pact, and every alpha who doesn't have a pact is like a problem. So y'all need to get it together. And so the boys abruptly are just like, okay, well, we'll form one. It'll be this table. Like, the whole table is our pack. And he's like, all right, cool, go ahead.
Which is
So all the boys form a pack with themselves. And then only after all the boys get through their, like, cutting hand and bonding together pack does the Dawn tell them, like, hey, so by the way, you actually can't form a pack with Sadie. That's forbidden. Sorry. And they get really irritated. Which, you know what? Shame on them for impulsively deciding to form a pack without
yeah. Why
laying
did they not think
all.
it through?
Yeah, I don't like. It's the Dawn. Like, Jinx has already shown that he is conniving, even if he was bluffing in that one scene, that he is calculating, right? So why would you not go through, like, hey, we're gonna form a pact with everyone at this table. Is this acceptable? Before, y'all impulsively agree to do that. And the boys are mad because they're like, we don't even like each other. The only reason why we're doing this is because Sadie's here.
Well, I think Cobra and Jax would have bonded in the pack, but other than that, probably not.
Mm-hmm. And they end up, like, regretting it a lot in chapter 14. Like, it's Cobra's POV where they're all just really bitter that they didn't get to form a pack with her, and now they have an emotional tie to each other where they can sense each other's emotions.
Which
So
is
that's making it worse because
crazy.
all the boys are angry, and all their anger is compounding into more anger and sadness and bitterness.
And they take it out on Sadie.
Yeah, yes, they do. And then Sadie in chapter 15 comes to their little group huddle, and she's like, "Hey guys, so I've thought about it. To keep you guys safe and to keep me safe, I will not be around you guys as much. I'll be distancing myself from you guys. We won't be having a relationship. And I guess I'll make a quick note in the previous chapter when the Dawn was there. He did mention that there was like an alert for any half-blooded creatures to be captured and sent back to the Fey Realm, I think, or brought to him. So Sadie in her head is like, oh crap, well, I'm half Fey. That's a problem. I can't be captured. That's trouble. So then she takes it upon herself to distance herself from the alphas. And none of them are happy. They're peeved that she didn't talk to them about it. They're pissed that she thought the best way to go about it was to not be around them when this was the exact same thing that they did to her at the Fey Games and book 2, mind you. So now she's doing an Uno reverse and they're pissed. But I guess both parties were pissed at the time that they made those announcements. So karma.
Which is crazy on their part because like you can't be mad that she's making a decision you made in the last book. Hey guys, right now's not the time for us to sexually chase each other. Maybe we take a big time out. And they're mad?
They're just horn dogs. It's an unfortunate reality. And then Sadie ends up going back to her room because seeing them be mad and berate her made her sad. So she goes back to Arabella for comfort. And she, mentions that she misses their support. She's like, I felt like that was a good decision, but dang, this sucks. And then I think it was a maid who came in and brought them towels, who ended up being like the next cryptic poetic messenger from the moon goddess.
It
I
was.
think.
Yeah. It was one of
Yeah.
Xerxes' maids bringing in towels or blankets or something.
Yeah, she tells him some poetic stuff. We didn't write it down. I don't know.
Probably wasn't important.
Yeah, I don't think it was important. But at the end of that section, the group is just prepping for their second trial, which is womp womp, another training montage because they're gonna have to be fighting with mafia alphas and they're gonna have to complete 100 battles in their unshifted forms without dying. That's their next task, and they have a week to prep and train for it. Whoop-de-doo. Another fight sequence. I hate it. I just wish it was more creative.
Also, Sadie is sending shocks of emotion through the snake.
Oh, and it's not responding back to her, and then she got really bummed about that. I think, right? Or did it respond and it was just really sad?
I think that she is sending it shocks of emotion, but it's not responding anymore. So she knows, based on Cobra's facial reactions, that he is receiving those.
So then we go to chapters 16 through 20. All this is Sadie's POV. So the group arrives at the Dawn's Mafia headquarters, and they're paired up with a couple of alphas that I think are already in the Mafia as like their training partners. But there's also another alpha group that's training. It's just 2. It's just one alpha dude. I don't remember his name. James. It's James. He's nothing to write home about. Very generic alpha man. And Clarissa, who's very generic alpha woman that also hates Sadie because she's another alpha woman, and also because she likes all the other alpha men. And it sucks because it's like, once again, we have another female character that it's either useless or she hates Sadie for no inexplicable reason.
And
then Arabella.
This comes back to bite her in the ass later, which is kind of funny.
It is. And then Sadie ends up getting paired up with Molly, and she is another female alpha trainer. So her and Sadie are training together in chapter 17. Sadie's kind of struggling a bit. And then Molly's like, hey, so I have an offer for you that you don't want to miss out on. You see these muscles I got? They're not natural. I took steroids. That's what we got to do. So do you want steroids? And Sadie's like, fuck it. What
Molly
else
said,
do I have to lose?
I just realized that Molly's name is Molly, and she offers Sadie drugs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey kids, you want some steroids?
Sadie's like, sure. And then immediately afterwards, she's like, damn, I took steroids? That sucks. But I can't wait for my muscles to come in. And then in one of these other chapters, Molly ends up explaining to Sadie about fated alphas, because I think Sadie confided into her about her alpha problems. And Molly tells her that, hey, there's these like alphas that you can have called fated alphas. And they have to bond with each other. Like they can't not be together. It's a requirement. So maybe you guys weren't fated because they ended up making a pact without you. And then Sadie's like, wow, that was terrible information. I hated that. Thank you so much for sharing. And then I don't know who criticized her for a bulkier physique, but she ended up having a panic attack about it. And then the boys got angry at whoever critiqued her.
I think it was Arabella. I think what
Or
it
Clarissa,
was,
maybe,
but I don't think it was. I think it was Arabella because I think it was back at home. I think that Arabella said something, and because Sadie's like, but you use Fey magic to look like a man, and Arabella goes, yeah, but my muscles are real. I didn't use anything special to get them. This is all me.
Oh wow. We'll fact check this later because I have it before she reaches Arabella. We'll confirm. But then she ends up going home. Everybody goes home. Sadie's chatting with Arabella. Arabella's smoking pipe, like heavy smoking pipe in their room, and she's like, Arabella, why do you do this to yourself? There's better ways to cope. And Arabella's like, I really don't care. And Sadie's like, all right, give me the pipe. And then they smoke together. And then back to training the next day, next chapter. She improves in training a lot. She ends up getting into this habit of dodging attacks pretty consistently, kind of like if she had the numb on. And that gets her really psyched. But she ends up blacking out, I guess, because she overused whatever mental ability she had to make that happen. And then she wakes up to all the boys getting really angry at Molly because they thought she punched her and knocked her out. And Sadie's like really happy that they're concerned for her until the boys remind her that, like, hey, we actually don't care about you. It's just because we're hormonal alphas, and Xerxes is about to enter his heat, so we're all getting like really agitated really easily. And then we have another prophetic figure who delivers another cryptic poetic verse about fate and destiny. I don't think Sadie takes it too seriously. And then right before we start the 100 fights, they have to go through like a mafia exam, like a written exam on the mafia rules and regulations, which I guess makes sense, but it's a very weird add-on.
It cycles back at the end.
Yeah, like briefly.
It wasn't needed as in depth as it was, but I feel like they needed to discuss like some of the rules for the mafia at this point because it does.
A whole chapter.
Yeah, it circles back around later on, and they justify something that they do with the rules of the mafia. So, which valid.
Yeah, it is valid. It is valid. They end up taking the exam, and then after the exam, Clarissa ends up confronting Sadie and like taunting her about her shifter form. She's like, I thought you were a badger, da 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 da. And Sadie gets really bummed. And then Clarissa's like, oh hey, by the way, I've been talking with your boys, and Xerxes invited me to his first heat. So sucks to suck. And then Sadie gets really disheartened and heads back home, very emotionally sad. And then we go to chapter 26 through 30.
Is this the same time where Clarissa's standing in conversation with the boys because they're paired up in the same like training group?
Yeah, and she's like feeling their muscles and stuff.
Yeah, and she's like talking to him. And so Sadie picks up the shadow snake on her fingers and brings it to her lips and kisses it, and Cobra turns around and looks straight at her.
Huh? I do not remember that sequence.
I do! It's after she's feeling all the jealousy and stuff coursing through her because she's watching the boys interact with another female alpha. And, she's like, oh, well, I guess I'm not good enough, but she is. Of course. And then she's like, what can I do to fucking drive Cobra insane? And she picks up the shadow snake and kisses it.
Oh my god, did he blush?
He turned and looked straight at her.
I bet all the other boys felt that.
I bet so too. And I went, oh, that's kind of cute, actually.
It is cute, because he just deadpan looks at her like, how dare you?
He turned,
we're supposed to be like, hating each other.
I feel like it was definitely one of those, he's standing there looking at somebody else, and he feels like the emotions start to course through the snake, and then he feels the kiss through the snake, and he went, fuck.
See, what would have been cute is if later in the chapter, I guess maybe after she blacked out or something, and woke up and was really sad, like he sent a little kiss back.
Yeah, right? But no.
That would have been adorable.
Well, he does. through this part, he is still sending her images of like positivity and happiness and love through the snake when he can, in between the emotions of everybody else in the pack.
Okay, okay.
It's just
I see you,
really,
Cobra.
it's still him. I think Cobra has a soft side, but it's severely fucked up still.
It is. It is. I wish it came out more.
I wish it did too.
like,
I wanted
just
to
a
love
chapter.
Cobra. I wanted to love him. But
it's really hard.
Yeah.
He's just a piece of shit. A lot.
He's a lot of pieces of shit.
I know, especially compared to Asher's like bubble bath spa day in book 2. I still think about it sometimes.
Right?
It's the only redeeming quality in that entire book. I miss him. I miss the Asher from before. And so then chapters 26 through 30. I guess chapter 26, Sadie heads home. The girls are in school because they've been enrolled in school thanks to the Dawn. Shout out the Dawn.
Yeah, shout out the Dawn
Jackson,
for keeping her
Arabella.
education.
Yeah, he knows what's up. Jackson and Arabella are gone, taking the kids to school because I guess it's their first day. And then Asher and Cobra have quote unquote business they need to take care of. Since I guess it's the Beast Realm and Cobra's tied to the Dawn and Asher's has a mafia family of his own. So that just leaves Sadie and Xerxes in Xerxes' big-ass estate.
And all of the servants.
And all of the servants. So obviously the first thing that happens is Sadie goes to get some dinner after her exam day. And she sees Walter the butler. And she's like, hey, blink twice if you need help. I can help you out. Having no money of her own, by the way. No place to call her own. I don't know how.
Well, this is not true. She has money. She just doesn't know how to use said money because she made a bunch of money.
The same as having none.
Then he's like, "Hey, girl, that car that you rode here in is mine. Stop."
And she's like, "Huh?" He's like, "I work here. I'm employed by their family. I've been here for years. I get paid." And she's like, "Oh, well, that's really embarrassing."
She's like, "Oh, whoopsie."
So then Sadie, still thinking, I guess, about Clarissa's offer to like join Xerxes for his first heat, she ends up going to his room and bang on the door and asking for him, and he's like, "Don't come in." And my first thought is like, "Girl, he's already going through it. Like the first heat's happening now. You need to leave." And she's like, "No, actually, I'll bang on the door. I will destroy the door if you don't let me in." And Xerxes gets worried for her safety and opens the door, and he is going through it. He is having his first heat. Barely can control himself. Eventually, Sadie.
You gotta. You pause.
Oh.
We gotta talk about how she actually gets in this room.
Go
because
ahead.
She says, "If you don't open the door, I'm gonna kick it down." And he goes, "No, don't do that."
And she gets ready.
And she gets ready, and she swings up her leg to kick the door, and it opens, and she falls through into him, basically. Oh. As he opens the door because he knows she's gonna fucking not listen and kick the door.
I think it actually would have been funnier if she accidentally kicked him like 20 feet across the room.
But he like catches her leg as she's like kicking.
That's funny. Just a little flustered.
Yeah. She's like, "Ah."
But it's okay because the payoff is that they get to bone, guys.
Yeah.
This is the
Sadie,
first sex chapter.
Sadie finally gets to lose her virginity, and it's something that can never be topped. In all honesty.
So they end up like having intense, rough, dominating sex. But the key feature of this, remember when Jasmin hinted in the first book that this would be an Omegaverse, but not like the traditional one? Well, here's where it gets non-traditional, guys. So Xerxes is like, "Hey, Sadie, I want you to look at my dick real quick." And she's like, "Okay, I guess." And it has a vibrating function, guys. I shit you not. It is a vibrating dick.
Homie has a built-in vibrator.
Yes, which is fantastic. It was so funny when I read it the first time. I was at a loss and I had to do a double take and reread again to make sure I was reading it
It's the way that you messaged me and went, "Hold on, he's a vibrator?" And I went, "Yeah, that's what I was waiting for you to find."
Dude, I know Sadie ate that up. She was so excited.
She's like, "Oh." Especially after the entire fucking moment in the Fae games where she's like, well, if they're not gonna let me have sex, I'm gonna go find a sex toy or something. They surely got something here.
Oh, they do, girl. They do. Not where you expect, though, but they do. But it is literally chapters 26 through 30 are all the same sex scene. It's told from Sadie's perspective and then Xerxes, and then Sadie's perspective and then Xerxes again, which I think was a little unnecessary. We could have
Like,
condensed it into 2 chapters, with
okay,
one being Sadie's and Xerxes being
yo,
the other.
why did we start it over when we could have just continued on and made an extra long, extra spicy scene? But we got the
For
same
real.
scene from 2 angles, which kind of ruined it,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, it kind of, because there's just a lot of rereading. I just skimmed it. I think I had a note somewhere that I would have wished for it to be half of Sadie, like the first half be Sadie's POV, where she's like finally getting to bang one of the guys, and her just being elated and being like, "Oh yeah, like Xerxes is just a really good pleaser." And then the second half is when they get into the power play dynamic, and they're like fighting for control of each other because Sadie's, giving into her alpha instincts, and Xerxes is trying to overcome his omega instincts, and it's just Xerxes in the second half getting joy and Sadie like participating in what he wants.
Right?
I think that would have been a good, solid 2 chapters of extra spice.
I'm gonna be honest, I was still waiting for Sadie to pop up pregnant after this scene.
Oh my god.
Because it seems like something that Jasmine Mouse would do is be like, oh yeah, look, it's a miracle pregnancy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because they mentioned at some point before this that alpha females don't typically get pregnant.
Which is why
It's
they
unheard
wouldn't
of.
let Sadie join the other alpha pack. That they needed an Omega woman. Which is
Yeah.
crazy, because, like, just get an Omega woman that's okay with Sadie. Problem solved. But
Real.
can't have anything calm.
Nope. Nope. But that's their sex scene. Very cute, very rough, very crazy. And then for chapters 31 through 35, all Sadie. What is it? She wakes up alone somewhere. I guess it's a post-sex scene where she's like by herself and bruised because Xerxes was that rough with her. And 2 days of sleep. Oh my god, so much.
Wait, no, that was after the, I am so confused. Hold on.
Stand by, guys.
Alright,
Okay.
we're good. We're back.
Alright, we're back, everybody. Technical difficulties.
It's fine. This is what happens when you don't actually want to be reading a book that you had to reread.
So, Sadie wakes up. She's in bed with Xerxes, and he's in his cat form. And she's just playing with him, which is a little bizarre, because she plays with him like she doesn't know he's a person. And then they, I guess, talk about last night, and he kind of apologizes a bit for being a little aggressive with her. But then she's like, nah, I liked it. You can keep doing that again.
She's like, yeah, no, actually, every day,
like,
please.
Yeah, she's like, that's hot as hell. And then eventually the boys make their way to their room and start banging on the door because they could feel the like emotional.
Also, I think they can smell. They can smell the mixture of Alpha Sadie scent with Xerxes Omega scent.
Yeah, and they barge in there. They're like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "I just boned this man. It was awesome.
I went to the bone zone, yo."
Exactly. Exactly. And then all the boys get ridiculously jealous because they're like, "Damn, I could have slept with her. This is ridiculous."
And she's like, "Actually, no, you couldn't have. You were all mean to me."
Exactly.
Xerxes calms me.
That's true. And and they get so irritated, they start beating the crap out of Xerxes. They all get into a fist fight as per usual, and Sadie just her chance to leave.
Yeah, she just walks right out the door.
She's like, "All right, goodbye."
And losers. then she fucking walks up to Aaron and goes, "I just had sex. It was so cool."
Aaron's like, "You smell like it."
And then we get a trauma scene of Arabella, talking about the fact that her mother had carved into her back the word whore, and she can never have sex.
Yeah, every time she gets like sexually aroused, the scar burns like the blue flames of the Fae.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it does suck. And then the Dawn ends up coming back to their house, and he's letting them in on the third trial, which is that they're supposed to capture one of the like alpha gangs that have eluded the mafia for a while, and it just so happens to be the Ortega Wolfpack, which I don't remember if we discussed it earlier, but the Ortega Wolfpack is the alphas who had originally bought Xerxes after he had come of age and went through like his Omega training, and they bought him to use as like their sex toy or whatever, and he ended up escaping them and fleeing to the Fey Realm, and that's how he ended up under the Queen's like servitude. And they're supposed to capture all of them, and they have, I think, 3 days to do it.
I think they had 48 hours.
Yep, 2 days, 48 hours. I'm seeing it right here. Yep, all right.
Justin believes some of the details I remember unwillingly.
I'm glad you do, because I don't.
I will say,
go ahead.
I only remember this because this is where their plan begins to divulge, of them dragging Sadie to the you-know-where and then doing the you-know-what.
Oh, yep. Yep.
I can't wait to flash that on screen.
I'm ready. We have no script after this chapter, by the way, guys.
Yeah, this is us freeballing all the way home. So they're told that they need to do the capturing of the Ortega pack, which are wolf shifters, and wolves are known to be the most aggressive, most badass, hardest to deal with shifters, and they tend to not want to join the mafia, and the mafia can't really do much about it, even though they've got these magical bullets that will drop alphas on the spot. Anyway, they have a little come to heart moment where Sadie and the boys all sit down and they talk about shit, and, you know, Cobra talks about his hatred of women and why he hates women, and Sadie talks about why she's mad at them, and Jax talks about his sisters.
Can't ever shut up about them. Oh my gosh.
And then they make up this plan that I don't think that they really talk all that much about before. And then they tell Sadie that they're gonna take her to a sex club, which is wild, since they drug her out of a sex clinic in the second book.
Right, and I think the sex club is like tied to the like they have connections to whoever's running the sex club, and so they are trying to like put themselves out there so the wolf pack like takes them in for something.
They want to be wanted because they know that like there's like a back room and you get invited in if you entertain the Ortega pack, right? Because they're like the owners of the sex club or whatever.
Yep.
However, you're dragging Sadie, a freshly not virgin, into a BDSM club is a wild fucking move, and they don't talk all that much about what they are going to do when they get in here. But they go and do like a sexy little shopping montage where they all get sexy clothes and sexy accessories.
Nice sexy suits.
Yeah.
Nice sexy lingerie.
Basically, it's just them in a lingerie store all trying clothes on and like picking up handcuffs and whips and shit and chains.
Pretty sure somebody has latex.
They put Xerxes on a fucking leash for the club because
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh.
Because they plan to use him, which is crazy. Especially since I'm pretty sure he's still in heat at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I don't even remember if when they get in there they recognize Xerxes. Is that how they're using him? Is that they're like, hey, they were Xerxes?
Yeah, they were hoping that they would recognize the alpha, that our alpha pack that we are following has their Omega that they purchased, is what we were hoping for, I think. I don't know if that's what ended up happening or not, or if it was...
We're gonna assume.
Yeah. But they decide that, one, Cobra's gonna lead the way. We get 2 POVs that talk about the entrance to this. The first one is being Sadie's. And we don't get the second POV about what happened until after it happens, which is wild. Should have just told us the other point of view. But Sadie ignorantly isn't paying much attention to anything other than like the people having sex, and she's just following Cobra through like this thing while they're leading Xerxes up to the stage, because they're gonna take the stage and they're gonna get the attention of the other alpha group.
And they sure get their attention, all right.
Oh, they sure do, but that's not, until after, during this entire time that they're walking up to the stage, Jax and Asher end up having to, like, beat some people up for trying to grab Sadie on the way to the stage.
And nobody cares.
And
once
nobody,
again.
yeah, and Cobra cares, because Cobra's like, hey, we don't tell Sadie about that. Like, he's like projecting, we don't tell her. We don't tell her how much we had to protect her here because she'll be pissed that we did. And that we didn't let her fight. Which actually is the correct call from Cobra. So, go him.
Good on you, Cobra. You get a brownie point.
One whole
brownie point for you.
One whole brownie point. Anyway, so they go and they get on the platform and they start teasing Xerxes and they start doing shit, and then eventually this is how the scene plays out. You have Xerxes laying on the ground, you got Sadie on top of him, on top of the vibrator, you got Asher tucked up in Sadie's second hole, you got Cobra with his in Sadie's mouth, and then you got Jax with his in Cobra. Which,
what a crazy orgy.
This is the craziest way that I've ever heard a sex scene described, and I had to draw this out to figure out how they were standing, laying, whatever the fuck, because it was really weirdly described, and it was like describing the acts like just between two people, if I remember correctly. Like, it would add in when they added Asher in, it was like, oh, he just came up behind her. Okay, this still makes sense. And then it was like Jax gets behind Cobra and they start doing it, and I'm like, holy crap, hold on, I need a pen and paper.
I know Xerxes was bummed because he's a straight man and all he had was a view of Jax's ass, followed by
You're
Cobra's
so
ass.
right.
Like, he had no view of Sadie whatsoever.
But he could feel Sadie on him, which is crazy. He's like, I can't even see tits.
He's got to be like the only straight guy, because even Asher likes watching Cobra and Jax like get
I think Asher's just fucking weird.
Okay, but he's like a weird bisexual man, right?
Right.
But Xerxes is a straight man. He's like, oh god, I hate ass. I see his men's ass. It's not even plump or anything.
This was the drawing that I did and sent to Chesh. After I read the scene, I'm like,
absolutely beautiful.
I was like, this is exactly what is happening and how they're standing. And she's like, wait, how? What? I'm gonna take it off screen before we get taken down. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Anyway, they have sex, they get the attention of the people they need to get the attention of, and then they get brought to like the special. Well, no, pause. Sadie runs off like a little coward. The sex isn't even what gets the people's attention.
It wasn't?
No. Sadie jumps off after they all finish, because, of course, they all go to completion. She runs down the stairs and does the reckless thing where she's, like, running through the crowd and shit, and she goes to the bathroom, and she's, like, hiding in the bathroom and, like, freaking the fuck out. And there's a lady that comes into the bathroom and is, like, talking to Sadie, and then the lady leaves. And then a man bursts in and tries to, R.A.P.E. Sadie.
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Because I remember I read it and I was irritated because it was like a throwback to the first book.
Yeah. So they did that, and this guy's like trying to force Sadie, and he's got like a gun to her head and shit. And he's one of the alpha in the mafia. And
Was
so
it James?
I don't remember who it was. It was like some random member. That was like higher up in the mafia, but not important enough that it really mattered. So Sadie, in a last-ditch effort, is projecting images of what is happening to her to the Shadow Snake, who is projecting them to Cobra, and Cobra comes barreling in.
Let's go, Cobra!
And Cobra kills this man viciously.
As he should.
I believe Xerxes comes in with his blades and disembowels the guy. Yeah, basically, they followed the Mafia's handbook to a T in order to kill this guy, because Sadie is technically a part of the Mafia, and he disrespected another member of the Mafia. So they did to him everything that is stated to be done to somebody that hurts another member of the Mafia.
I see. Okay, so this is how it circles back.
Yeah, that's where the circle back is. And that gets their attention of the Ortegas, because there's a camera in the women's bathroom.
What do you know?
What do you know? There's one of those floating fucking crystal things projecting everything in the women's bathroom to the owners. So that gets the attention of the people they need the attention of, and then they get walked back because that was brutal, and that turned the people off because they love brutality.
Oh. Okay. It's like it's all coming back to me as you
Yeah.
narrate. I'm like, yes, I
You're
do
like,
remember
wait,
reading
no,
this
that
part.
that tracks. Yeah, that's why this didn't get scripted because I remember what happens.
I'm
So
so glad.
they go in there and they they walk down this like really dark hallway and shit where it looks like they're getting ready to probably be killed because this is the shit of nightmares, honestly. And these guys are like sat, like lined up and shit. Uh, Sadie fucking is ready to blood magic kill people again.
Hmm.
The sisters have been kidnapped again. Uh, fucking basically
You got
they
it.
they 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 win this fight. We get more annoying fucking Jinx. We get confirmation of something that I expected probably by the end of book 2 at least, that Lucinda definitely also has the blood fae magic because she gets ready to use it. Um but they win this fight. They take out the Ortegas. They win. Blah 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 blah. Then they go home to find Walter dead,
I forgot they killed Walter. Oh my
and they
gosh.
find Arabella basically almost dead because Arabella was not in the group kidnapped.
Yeah, they like shot up the estate, right?
Yeah. Um. So Asher does everything in his power. I believe. I believe it's Asher. Does everything in his power to save Arabella because he knows that without Arabella, Sadie will never forgive them. Sadie will never join them.
Makes
So
sense to me.
Asher puts everything he can into saving Arabella, and he does. And then Sadie drags Arabella to like this final like party thing that they have to go to, even though Arabella was just basically dead. Arabella does drugs more on the way there, does them all throughout the night while they're at this party thing with the Dawn. And the Dawn's like, "Hey guys, good job. You proved your loyalty. Here's your tattoo." And then the crew's like, "Hey, fam, what about Sadie?" And he's like, "Sadie already proved her loyalty in the first challenge.
She's done.
She's been done. She's been an official member for like 100 full days."
Oh my gosh.
No, it wasn't quite 100 days. And then Dick and some other random person, probably the man from the cloak that fucking kidnapped everybody, make an appearance together.
Surprise, he's alive.
Uh, Dick is apparently some super high up dude that's important.
He's in the high court.
Um, Still don't know what that is, but sure.
The well, we know it
Legolas.
as well as them like being the rulers of all the realms, but not like knowledge. Like not everybody's aware that they rule the realms. They're in the background.
Anyway, another not important part of the story.
Yep. Not for
Um,
now, at least.
Fucking Dick talks to Sadie about a bunch of shit. Oh, no. Backpedal. Molly betrays Sadie, and that's why Dick shows up.
How was Molly even related? Was Molly in the mafia and she like tried to kill Sadie during the
Molly.
Ortega Pack thing?
Molly is in the mafia, and she, during this party, has realized, because Molly's little boyfriend, right, um, knows that Sadie and Arabella are the Fae and half-blood person that the High Court is looking for. And he thinks that there's like this heavy reward in turning them in.
Yes, I do remember that. Sadie was really bummed, and I was like,
I was bummed for
frustrated
Sadie.
that one of like the only other female characters that didn't hate Sadie outright ended up betraying her anyway.
Because Jasmin mass hates women.
Yep.
But yeah, Molly betrays Sadie. Sadie gets her finger cut off.
Yes. Yes, she does.
Clarissa gets murdered for not actually being Sadie's friend, which was like her first assignment. Was the Dawn actually seeked out another female alpha to put into training to be friends with Sadie.
Damn. She
Like,
deserved it.
She did. Clarissa gets killed. I'm pretty sure her brother gets killed. An entire line of fucking mafia initiates that were supposed to be like being honored with their tattoo gets killed because the Don finds out that they were all pieces of shit and he doesn't want that kind of people in his gang, which valid, honestly. The Don really likes Sadie and thinks that Sadie is great for his son.
Hmm.
And he basically belittles the guys and was like, your entire last challenge was actually, like, your entire, like, ongoing challenge has been loyalty. What is branded on all of my men's bodies? Loyalty. Your loyalty, the only way to test that was to tell you that you couldn't be with Sadie. And the only one of you that actually showed loyalty to each other was Sadie.
Yup.
Because Sadie did what was best for the group. Sadie defended you guys and stuck by your side, even though you guys formed a pack without her, without even thinking about the consequences of if she could join you or not. Which, good job, Dawn.
Yup.
I think that was the best circle around that I've seen in the entire book.
I can't even believe Jax, as level-headed and leader-oriented as he is, was not, like, even remotely considering
Right.
how this would have played out. Which, shame on Jasmin for that part, because I feel like if anyone was going to do it, it would have definitely been Jax.
Or
Or Asher, because he's in the Mafia. Or in a Mafia.
I think that it should have been Xerxes, because Xerxes knows how the dynamic works. Because he's been sold into a group of alphas. So he knows that there has to be somebody to actually mate with.
Anyone. Any other volunteer.
But God forbid. And here's the thing. I don't see how this is going to play out well, unless, long term for them. I don't see how this would play out well unless Jasmin Mass literally makes it like a miracle pregnancy thing, where Xerxes can get Sadie pregnant and Sadie can give birth to fine babies, right? Because packs have to be able to continue their bloodline in order to continue to be a pact. So, they still need a female Omega, and Sadie's not going to be okay with that.
That's true.
So, whatever.
They should just introduce Mpreg, and then just
right.
Xerxes get pregnant. I feel that would be a fine
that would solve a lot of issues, but, like, they discussed at the beginning of the fucking story how Omega men couldn't get pregnant, or, couldn't get people pregnant. Basically a bunch of bullshit. I think that's basically the end of the book, honestly, guys.
You forgot all about the war. We had a whole, like, dissertation from Dick about the war.
Dick says, hey, there's gonna be war, it's inevitable. Here's a communication device. Talk to me.
Yeah,
I only was
war between, like, the shifters and the angels and the demons and some other entities. And Sadie is supposed to be, along with Arabella, like, the forefront of the war. Like, they're supposed to lead the war. He also tells Sadie that, hey, all that abuse that I, like, put on you for your entire childhood? Yeah, so that was me trying to get your blood powers to come out, and it just wouldn't work, and I did all this for you. Which is crazy, by the way, because I feel like there could have been at least 10 other methods to get her to use her blood powers that didn't include abuse for 20 straight years with little to no improvement or any sign that she had powers to begin with.
Especially since Lucinda's abilities shone through and she wasn't abused.
Yeah, he mentions that Sadie and Lucinda and I think Jax's sisters. I don't think he mentions it directly, but he hints that there are other girls that I guess were prophesized to be the head of the war, and he was just in charge of making sure at least one of the girls ended up coming away with blood powers.
Yeah.
Like, proving that she was worthy. And I think they even hint at that the voice in Sadie's head is,
in
like,
fact,
some higher
the goddess.
being. Yeah,
the moon goddess
specifically. And I think Arabella also has a voice in her head. It's a masculine voice, and she remembers it when she recounts, like, killing her mom, that there was a voice in her head telling her to kill her. And it's a masculine voice, and so, we can insinuate that was the sun god talking to her.
Overall,
and we get
really weird ending, for being honest.
It was. All of that was crammed into one chapter.
Right, that was all the very last chapter.
And then Dick's like, alright, I'm leaving. I'll see you guys when the war happens. And just dips.
Well, that's around the same time that he tosses a halo-shaped object at Sadie and was like, contact me about your car's extended warranty. He tossed, like, this halo. He tossed this halo-like thing, was like, here, this is a communication device. I'll be in contact. It's like a holographic, sci-fi, fantasy walkie-talkie.
So weird. Ugh,
and then
such a pacing mess.
Well, that's not even the weirdest part about that. The weirdest part about this is, like, the epilogue being titled Sadie Happily Ever After. And us knowing
the war.
And us knowing that there are 3 more books after this, but ending it with Sadie Happily Ever After. And it just being her talking to a fucking therapist with Arabella. And Arabella being like, yeah, no, I'm still drugged out. Rock on, dude. and stressing the therapist out.
Yeah, the therapist is like, I don't know how to handle you two. You guys are crazy.
I think
And
the
they're like, we
therapist
know.
wants to fucking jump out of the building.
And they laugh about it too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're like, ha ha ha, she can't fix us.
And then Sadie has her boys, you know.
Arabella
Happily
has
ever
drugs.
after. Oh, and then the last portion of the epilogue where she gets kidnapped by the hooded figure who tested them in the book 1, I think.
I don't even remember that. I think I honestly stopped reading after they're in therapy.
No, it's the second to last chapter where Arabella's like doing something in the estate, and she ends up getting kidnapped by the hooded figure who tested them at the lake, and then the hooded figure transports her to the academy that starts the 4th book, which is Fae Academy or Psycho Academy or whatever.
You know what? You're probably right.
Yeah, I was like, how are they going to segue into the next book? And then it was just that abrupt. And I was like, oh, okay. And that book is just about Arabella being in a school with a bunch of other to-be rulers.
Men.
And it's, yeah. I think there's women there too, but it's, you know,
she's in the male dorm because she's hiding.
Fighting. Oh, yeah, I guess she transformed into Aaron before she got kidnapped. But they're like being trained to control their powers because it's full of both good and evil rulers, which is really weird to put them both in a dorm together, much less a school together.
Well, I mean, I guess the best prevail. The strongest
still
survive.
Evil?
Yeah.
So, like, alright, we'll let the evil flourish. As long as you can control yourself, like, go crazy. Go ham.
That's crazy, honestly. Also, I will say,
the trilogy.
One, I've seen, like, text conversation, like, not text, like, the text of the book in TikToks for the next 3 books. Arabella, fucking gets some tattoos or some shit, or is trying to get the word whore covered up on her back, and the person tattooing her has a boner and is, like, horny for her. We see more male on male.
Yep. I think Jasmin has, like, a thing for having a group of 5 where at least 2 of the men are into each other, and they're all lusting after one woman.
Which, I will say, after the first 3 books, feels very fetishized.
Oh, it is, because it's not like, sure, there's moments in the 3 books where Jax talks about Cobra and Cobra talks about Jax. But it's not like there's ever any moments with them privately where they're doing, like, couple things together. Like, I get that they're both alpha male men who don't do standard, you know,
I'm sorry. No,
stuff.
You couldn't convince me that Jax and Cobra, if they were actually in love and, like, in a predetermined relationship, didn't have some form of softness for each other where they would, like, sit there and brush each other's hair out or, like, bathe each other after. Yeah, like, there would be aftercare. There would be character development between the two. We would see it reflect in the chapters back and forth. But when we see Cobra's POVs, all he's thinking about is Sadie.
Yeah, and that's, like, one of my biggest gripes with the series is that there is very little character relationship development that doesn't revolve around Sadie. Which is really weird for a cast of characters as big as this and as tightly knit as they're supposed to be. I don't care that they don't love each other like they don't, or like they love Sadie. I just care that they know each other enough that I could believe they would be in a group of 5 and tolerate each other even if Sadie wasn't there. But Jasmin doesn't like to write about that because that's boring. That's how I felt.
That's how I felt this entire series. We're circling back to this.
Ready for this. That's how we felt getting ready for all the other book talk or the book club episodes, and that's how we feel thinking about. This is
our. We're finally done. We're never reading another book from Jasmin Mass ever again, unless she proves to me that she went and learned how to write. She's got like a literature degree or something, because holy fuck.
I don't even care that it's a passion project thing and that this isn't her full-time job. I'm just like, if you're going to take this up as a passion project, I need you to learn some basic literature rules. I need you to learn how to write a cohesive story that I don't have to write or have to read the next 3 books to feel like this story was complete. And I shouldn't feel conflicted about these characters at the end of the 3rd book of their trilogy.
I just want to say that if you are going to write a passion project, maybe start on AO3.
We could help you on AO3, girl. There's so many comments on there, and they're real. They're brutal.
Or Wattpad. See if you actually get upvotes. And I will say, a lot of people, it seems, really love her writing, and I just can't. I read a lot of shit. I read a lot of smut. I read a lot of romance. No part of this was cohesively good in any aspect. I love dual POVs. Like, those are some of my favorite books to read, are POVs from both the characters in the book. She doesn't do it well. She could have written this entire thing from Sadie's POV, and it would have been 100 times better.
Yeah, I don't think I would have lost anything by having it be Sadie's POV, but I think it actually would have been better if any of the other POVs were used effectively.
You know, or we would have seen Arabella throughout the series instead of as a prologue.
Yeah.
Or maybe, in the last book, thrown in a Lucinda or a Jinx POV while they're at school. Give me a how the school system works POV. That would have been cool.
Hell, I think even a Dick POV. As much as we don't
Honestly,
like
yeah.
him, as a member of the High Court and the only character in this book who is aware of every single plot point and thing to come, I think any POV would have been great insight. Or like the Legolas or whatever.
Yeah,
Book
I
2.
wish we would have got more about him.
To the High Court. You know, I'm pretty sure Legolas actually met with Dick. There's
Probably.
no way Dick got left behind in the Fey Realm and they didn't interact with each other at least once.
I feel like Dick probably went to go get Legolas and take Legolas back. Like
Yeah,
he had
and then
to
we would
have.
gotten some kind of knowledge about the war or like Dick's feelings about Sadie. Like, it's not like I would have felt any better about him, but I think it would have been.
I think it would have made
nice
us feel like he was actually a character instead of a second thought.
Yeah.
Like, currently as it stands, Dick was just a plot point, not a character. He's only there when he has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the same about 90% of the people in this book. Lucinda is a flat-boarded character. She's just a mirror of Sadie, but slightly different in looks, which sucks.
Yeah, the sisters aren't really relevant. Like, they're there to be, like, the girls group and to give Sadie, like, feminine back support. But I think if they just written Arabella well enough, they wouldn't have been necessary.
Honestly, I'm going to say it. Jax's sisters have no character traits other than Jinx.
No, they don't. And, you know, it's funny because most stories I'm always like, oh, this story would have really done better if it had more characters in it. Like, just to flesh out the world, right? Like, when
in this
authors make characters, it shows that they take an interest in the world that they're building and they think about, like, the ties characters have to other people, and you can use that later in the book when you introduce a character and, you know, hint that they may be something more and we come back to it later. But this book, I think, actually would have done better had we had less characters.
I agree. Or, you know, honestly, I wish there would have been less love interest. I wish that they would have just let Cobra and Jax be in, like, their own little couple, right? And then let them get an Omega woman when they need one to form a little pack. And then I wish that they would have just let Asher, Xerxes, and Sadie form a pack.
Trio.
Yeah. Like, it would have been fine. And then they could have all still been friends. You don't have to not be friends because you're in separate packs.
Yeah. Because she can't write, like, a bunch of character harem relationships and do this little to, like, build them up and then expect me to care. But with the trio, I think it would have been really great.
Yeah.
Especially considering Sadie would have, like, an Omega man who's trying to
care for her,
be more assertive and dominant, and then on the flip side you have Asher, who is trying to be less like the shitty alpha figures in his life and be more caring like an Omega would, and that would have been, like, a great dual relationship that she would have had to experience both.
Right. She would have had...
Damn, I should write that.
Catch us on AO3.
I can't write, but I feel like I should write that.
Listen,
like, that's a nice concept.
I do write. Not great, but it's better than Jasmin Masses. That's cocky of me. I will eventually one day put that book out that I'm working on.
I'll commission you to write chapters, some alternate universe.
But God, I do love a
fanfiction book. You looked. There's none.
There's no fan fiction of this book. There's not a whole lot of, like, hashtagged media for this book, unless it's people hyping it up. And I'm gonna say it again. I genuinely think that they're paid to say these good things. So catch me being Jasmin Mass's biggest hater, because this is not good. It's almost on par with my hatred of Colleen Hoover, in all honesty, which I feel like I should say I would like to bring a review of the book that just became a movie onto our channel. While it's still popular, it would get hits. Um,
I can read it. I'm not gonna like it, but I'll read
I'm
it.
not gonna like it either. I'm gonna buy it so that I can physically mark things in it about how
Thankfully,
shit.
it's standalone.
Yeah. Well, there's a sequel, I think. It ends with
I'm
us
not
and it
reading
starts
it.
with us or whatever. But It Ends With Us is the one that just came out in theaters. We'll talk about that later. But let me read you the excerpt from her other series. Audience, fans, friends.
Appreciators of
Uh,
fine literature and degeneracy.
where did I send it in? I sent it to you on Discord. I read it to Kimmy yesterday too, and she's like, "What the fuck is that?"
Literally every time every time the pod hears about us talking about this book, they're always confused, a little scared. They're like, "What are y'all talking about?" And we're like, "This piece of garbage," and they're like, "Oh, that."
They're
piece
gonna
of
be
garbage.
so thrilled that we're done with it, and then we're gonna accidentally find something else that's just a shit. So stay tuned for that. But from the new book that Jasmin Mass wrote, where she wrote a female Hercules whose name isn't Hercules, it's like Alexis or some shit.
So disappointing.
This is a one-page excerpt from this. Preach, girlfriend, I mumbled back. His right eye twitched. Calm yourself, he said with a frown. Focus on your center. Find your inner calm. Will do, Captain. I bowed and face planted onto the floor. Like a beached whale, I said with my cheeks pressed against the rocks. Don't worry, the tide will pull me back. I rolled to my side. Augustus looked worried. I made a whale sound. He did not make one back. This is why I don't talk to people. They never understand me. A muscle in Augustus's jaw ticked as he stood up, leaned over, and hoisted me into a seated position. The boy in front of me moaned in his sleep. Augustus gripped my shoulder with painful tightness, and he didn't let go. You saved me, I whispered up at him. Surprisingly, long lashes fluttered, his expression softened, fingers loosened. You saved Big Bertha the humpback whale. He dropped me. I let out a cry, aquatic moan, of my people. In a surprising turn of events that absolutely no one saw coming, he didn't talk to me for the rest of class.
I told Becca when she sent it to me, I was like, "This is the cringiest shit ever." It's so cringy. Ugh, Gen Z slang,
And
the millennial slang. Ugh.
the fucking Dory reference. Can she do anything original?
No.
She said that she's a big fan of history, and that's what she's writing history as. And not to mention, we're not the only people that think this. I'm not reading this book, but from looking
No.
through reviews, she butchers the Greek relationships between the people of Greek mythology. She makes people sons that are actually, the father.
Ares was the son or the father of Hercules, or not Hercules. Sorry, Ares was the father
of Achilles. Yeah,
and I was like,
that's
now there's a lot of literature to be had for mythology, and a lot of literature that likes to conflict just because people have their own interpretations. But that has never been an interpretation for Achilles.
And then she gave Cerberus to somebody else. I'm sorry.
Charon?
The
gatekeeper of hell.
Yeah, the one that's supposed to be the gatekeeper, the ferryman. But he's not. He's the son of somebody else. Ignore that entirely. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's not actually the gatekeeper. He's just like some teenager. Anyway.
That's the only role he has. That's his only job.
Well, not in this book. Yeah, no. They couldn't have made like a teenage kid for Hades and Persephone and just gave them like a random Greek-sounding name to keep a teenager. It's wild. Lots of people are complaining. A lot of people don't think it's good, and then there are those random 5-star reviews that are written like, "This is the best thing since sliced bread. Jesus bestowed this upon me himself."
Yeah, and it still has the same setup where Femc Hercules Alexis is being like seduced by what, like 4 different suitors.
Dude, yeah, it's a reverse harem again, which doesn't. It does and doesn't make sense for Greek mythology, but it super doesn't because Hercules was outcasted.
I mean, it'd be fine if she had like a good sense of their character as mythological figures and translated them into modern day men, right? But she still has the same archetypes, like Jax's character is another character that, and I'm not going to get into the
Yeah.
names because I think
Yeah,
they're
it's
dumb and I
crazy.
don't remember what they are. But it's like the same overly aggressive, emotional, borderline misogynistic men that are supposed to be seducing female Hercules of all people.
Yeah. I will say if you want a good uh Greek mythology uh rewrite or like romance book, I have several recommendations and I will actually post them on my Bookstagram that I will link down below, or that you can find through my YouTube channel, which will also be linked down below. I don't actually
So,
post there often, but I will get there. Trust and believe. I'll make shorter content videos for there that'll be gaming and stuff. But for now, this is all I can handle because we were trying to
yep.
truck through these terrible books.
But don't worry, guys. The
It's
next
over.
book we're reading is Prior the Orange Tree, and I know reviews are divisive on that book, but it is generally a pretty good, well-written book.
I will say that 100% our review of that will either end up being a 4-hour video or it's going to be broken up into multiple smaller videos because that's a big book. We're going to have a lot to say, probably.
We might be able to summarize it as effectively as we did this one. I hope we can condense it.
Yeah,
I believe in us.
this one we condensed and we're still at an hour 40.
We had technical difficulties.
This is true.
We rambled a bit at the end. I think we got it.
But we will, in fact, be bringing you better written content. It'll be more thought out. We know our flow this time, so we know how to keep track of things as we're reading. It won't be a reread in order to make a script, so that'll be good. Well, it'll be a reread for Chesh.
My third reread of this book.
It'll be my first read through, so you'll have my first opinion views and Chesh's like seasoned reread review. So,
Yep.
you know, it's not that bad. We'll be good. We'll be golden.
Yep, and for those of you that came for crappy book reviews, we'll have more of those too. They'll be
Trust and believe.
less. They'll be like more spread out, but they will be there. Trust and believe.
They'll probably be one-offs. We'll try to steer away from series unless it's something that's really, really good. But I think that's all I have.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in for our third episode of Book Club and our final episode of the Psycho
Shifters.
series. Yes.
Thanks for joining us on our fucking shit fest of Jasmin Mass. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about us if you think we're funny. Recommend your favorite books down below. Tell us what you think of Jasmin Mass down below.
The ramblier, the better. I love the shade and tone of authors I don't like. Please indulge me.
Please. Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye.